Greetings and sorry, I'm not him. But welcome to the episode of the Aniki guys. It's great to be back. This is episode 17, and I guess season 2. This is season 2, episode 2. But I won't confuse you all. This is a show where we talk about and we dig deep into esports culture. I'm your host, Drekkonis, and I am joined here with Bear.
How's it going?
Welcome back, and this time a new third host. Hopefully he'll stay. StrygwyrD.
How's it going?
Oh, that bold introduction.
Oh, well,
yeah, I know. So welcome, gentlemen. Welcome to the Aniki. I'm glad you guys can join me as my co-hosts. This is sort of the reborn of it. We brought this back. We brought the show back after its hiatus, and I'm really excited to. Honestly, guys, I want to tell you that we have an awesome lineup of people for the next couple of episodes. We have an amazing guests, awesome topics to talk about. Esports is always ever buzzing, always changing, always new things on the scene to check out. So this is exciting. Are you guys excited?
I am super excited.
That
I'm
emphasis.
excited.
So
honestly, it's just because I don't know who they are. That's why I'm excited.
Obviously, this is
Once I find out, we'll see.
I hope your body is ready.
Yeah.
This is really good. I'm glad to have you guys back. I'm glad that we're getting back into the three person role. I was worried at first I'd have to fly it solo, but Bear, you joined up on episode 1 of this season, and now Tamir, you're here to join us, and hopefully we can keep this a regular thing.
I haven't signed anything.
Oh,
I'm here as long as you want me here. So
well, the minute you hit that play button on Skype, that was your contract automatically signed, sealed, delivered. We are already there.
I need to have these Skype people.
So let's get started. Let's just jump right into it. So critical update. Critical update was we give you a little bit of a rundown of what's happening in ESChamp and what we have lined up for you. Main thing we're going to talk about in the critical update is we have a new schedule starting to take shape. In ESChamp we normally do a lot of we've done events, and we normally stream a lot of the local events around the Canadian region. There's a couple of things that are coming up. Frag for Cancer is coming up in October. We have EGLX still hovering around November. But we're adding new shows to our weekly lineup. We can't get enough of you guys, and I think you guys can't get enough of us. So with the Aniki being the first show to come back, we'll be adding new shows all throughout the week. So I'm hoping that we're going to see some excellent stuff. Tamir, do we want to talk about even some of this stuff? I don't know if you want to hold that to your chest, or do you want? Can we talk about it? Is it okay?
No, absolutely. We can share. I mean, we're starting tomorrow, so might as well let people know, right? As early as tomorrow evening, 7 EST, we're going to be streaming some Face It CS:GO. That's going to be your regular Wednesday and Friday, as well Dota Face It. Some pro Face It matches on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I believe. Schedule not yet finalized, so don't hold me to that. But there's going to be some Face It casts for Dota and for CS:GO, as well as some community content where we get to play with you awesome viewers on the weekends primarily. And I think there's also going to be some Monday community content with Drekkonis himself. Like I said, a couple of those dates still pending final decisions, but definitely coming up tomorrow. Face It CS:GO you can watch, and on Thursday you'll be able to watch some Face It Pro League Dota. I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it. So we'll have those community games up on the weekends. Normally, when we don't have if we don't have a tournament up, then that's when we'll be playing games with you guys, our community. We haven't thought of a formal name for some of these additional shows. So I've already thought of the name for my Monday show, which is when I'm going to be playing basically old school esport titles or competitive titles. It's called Legacy Masters. TM, name pending, trademark. I already heard Tamir sigh or make some sort of noise, but it doesn't matter.
Soon TM.
Soon TM. And then we'll have a name for our studio, our community show on the weekend. Mm-hmm. If you guys have suggestions, absolutely, for sure, send that out there. Throw it in the chat. Send us on Twitter. Let us know.
Email them to Bear.
Email them to Bear. Those of you who are already players already have his email.
Yeah.
So let's get this ball rolling. Let's get into this. All right. So Upvote. Upvote's where we talk about popular topics. Let's start off. Unpaid internship. Recently, an article surfaced up in the interwebs, posted by Esports Career about unpaid internship and why they specifically posted on their site. This sort of set Twitter up ablaze because Twitter is always up ablaze about something, and it was one of those things where they think that for esports to become taken seriously, unpaid internship should be something that's removed. Like, companies need to abolish unpaid internships. As always, I want people's thoughts on this. How is your feeling on unpaid internship? I already kind of know myself, because I basically, and anybody who starts any project knows, like, you don't get a choice. Unpaid internship. Ooh, that's it. That's a life for like the next year and a half.
Yeah, it's a bit unrealistic at the same time. I mean, just if you work in esports, or if you're an unpaid intern in esports, if you've seen a budget or a project life cycle, you know that unpaid internships are just the reality right now. There's no way that they're getting removed. But on a fundamental level, where people are discussing this on Twitter and they're not really sure which way to go, should we have unpaid internships? Are they ethical? Are they moral? Are they sustainable? Are they something that's contributing to esports, or are they harming it by existing? Should we remove them? I think personally, there's absolutely no good reason to remove them. Every other industry that started out anywhere had unpaid internships. Most industries still do. Very successful industries, whether it's finance and banking, or if you're in stocks, you're gonna find unpaid internships everywhere. Fitness industry, all over the place. They still exist, and lots of these industries are extremely successful, and by and large part because people are willing to jump in and I want to say work for free, but it's not work if you're not getting paid. So it's hard to call it that. Point being, esports shouldn't be any different than any other budding industry or booming industry for that matter.
I think a lot of industries still have it. Like a lot of,
they do.
Like a lot of like tech. I don't know about tech. Maybe tech. I don't know.
Actually, tech does to some extent, especially with some of these like startup companies.
No, when they have the venture capital money, that venture. And when our guest comes in, I'm sure he'll give us a bit of insight on that. I actually am curious to hear. But I think that even tech companies, like, I don't know, is it something that's even like when you have that venture capital money? Wikipedia though is more like a charity or a non-profit, right?
Well, so, there you go. I mean, that's exactly what it is, right? If it's not charity, even if somebody comes to for an unpaid internship here at ESChamp or something like that, it's practically charity. I mean, whatever label you want to slap on it, the point is people are doing valuable work for free because it's a necessity, not because it's it's not like that their employers would like to not pay them. It's not like they're money grubbing bosses sitting in their office just thinking about all that valuable hard labor they're raking in for free. It's really not like that. I'm sure that they would love to pay people if they had the option. But the reality is, when you're trying to make something out of nothing, you don't always have those options. And so unpaid internships are a necessity. And people in the community love to volunteer their time. And it's really not unpaid labor. It's not unpaid work. It is volunteer, and they are getting experience. It's something that goes on their resume. And I think there was a really good poll on Twitter as well about the amount of people that it was by Paul, by Red Eye. He was just kind of free-handedly asking.
Yeah, he was. I think I remember.
How many people turned their unpaid internship into a paid career in esports? And quite a few people did. Quite a few people made that transition.
That's the thing, though, right? Okay, but that's the thing. It's hard for the old guard. Everyone who's an old guard, like myself included, and many of like Red Eye and anybody who's like that, they started off when esports had no money. Esports was pretty much like, it was broke. Esports was, and people were just questioning whether it was a thing. And then when esports boomed, we got washed with the incoming tide. So now people are saying the international can pay out $18 million. Obviously, there's money in esports somewhere. Why are we working for free? Or at least, like, I don't know if it's a majority or a vocal minority. I can't really tell. But you know, people are saying there's money. There must be money in esports now. There has to be. That excuse of not there's no money can't fly anymore if we want to be taken seriously. I'm in the same camp as yourself, Jameer. I do believe that I think it's a trial by fire. Like for me, it's one of these things that you get to distinguish people who are really committed to a cause. They're not in it just because they want to flirt with the concept of working in game and in esports because they like, you know, they booted up World of War or they booted up Heroes of the Storm and now they're excited about making money. You know,
yeah, I can play this for a living.
So it's like, and I think someone brought up a really good point. Any person who wants to be a professional player, like playing is automatically like almost an unpaid internship because you're not going to get a contract right out of the gate. You have to work your way into this. So I feel like, I don't know, I put it in the same thing.
Like you said, you don't launch up Heroes of the Storm and demand a paycheck, right? Like that's the reality. Whether you're a gamer or you're working in the scene in some way, most people do start out unpaid in esports. It's the reality of things. But and like I said, on a fundamental level, where people are going back and forth about whether or not it should or shouldn't be the case, citing the international is actually a pretty horrible example because pretty much all of the money for the international came from the same community, which is where these volunteers are coming out of, right? Like, if you think about it, this $18 million prize pool that they had, what was it? 50 over 16 million of that came from community funding. So yes. Basically, community funded prize pools, community funded work makes community funded everything, right? It's not like Valve put up all the money for all this. And you know what? Even so, with that being said, I'm pretty sure nobody worked at the international for free.
Okay, absolutely, I'm sure, but
that's an isolated case.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I agree entirely with everything you guys have said. Like esports is the industry where you need to have a resume, so to speak, a portfolio, whatever you want to call it. You need to be able to show that you can do something, and to just demand it right away is not the way to go about it.
Well, I think that's what we have with a new generation of people coming into esports, right? They are, I don't want to say entitled, but it's a level of, and I don't want to turn it into that. Well, I don't want to turn it into like a us versus them, old guard versus the new thing, where they do feel a bit, they feel like I'm doing work and my work is valuable or whatever, and thus I should be paid as such. But in many regards, I think a lot of people just don't have experience. Esports.
No one's discrediting the fact that what you do deserves to be paid for, and if you were working in any other industry, like let's say you're a graphic designer, you're doing graphic designer for anywhere who needs a graphic designer, like they might be paying you more, but the nature of the industry is just, the money's not there. And if you want to get known in the industry and you want to be, if that's where you want to work, you need to work for free because you need to be represented, need to network and get to know people.
Network is the key. I think, like, honestly, I think networking is the key. You get there, and your whole point when you get into like some company and organization, like, don't even think about, oh my gosh, I'm in this organization and they're not paying me a dime. First thing I would do is like, who does this person know and who can he introduce me to? I would just like siphon that person's like Rolodex dry, man. I can't even tell you. I'd just be all over that Rolodex. I'd be like all over his Twitter, and I'd be like, who's this person? Can you like retweet me with this guy in it, right? Can you just tweet me with this guy mentioned, right? So
it is important to meet as many people as you can. It's also important to pick up as many valuable skills as you can. If you're trying to get paid in esports, you have to be good at something. You really have to stand out, because there's a lot of people that would love to work in the gaming industry, period, not just esports. Jobs are limited. That's the nature of the beast. Like, it's not like everybody can do this, right? It's not like everybody's going to get paid. There's just not that kind of room yet. It's not that big yet. Maybe 20 years from now, it's possible, but the reality of today is the amount of paid position in esports isn't enough for the amount of people that want to work in esports.
Oh, okay. So, that's definitely probably the key head, right? Like, head on the nail on the head. Where there's just not that many. That the paid positions are outnumbered by the amount of people that want to work in esports.
Mm-hmm.
the other thing too is if you're not willing to do it for free, someone else is. Like someone's thirstier than you are to work in esports, and like that, they're gonna work harder for it.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like a way to siphon out the people who don't really want it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
but you obviously have to watch it for organizations that will take advantage of that.
Hey, absolutely, yeah, that will happen. But
like there's going to be organizations who are like, oh, I have an army of free minions. Fly, my pretty, fly. Write my articles.
Yeah.
Put together those videos, right?
Naturally, though, those kind of organizations, we see this a lot. There's a lot of them right now. They're very unstable. The quality of the content that they produce is all over the place. And this is why I said it's not like they don't want to pay people. They would love to pay top tier talent to produce content for them. Unfortunately, the reality for them is that they can't. And what ends up happening is somebody will volunteer or unpaid intern, if you will, write a couple articles. If their content is really good, they'll probably get scooped up by somebody who can afford to pay for them. And for organizations who can't afford to pay, they get content that's kind of all over the place because they're either their writers or their content managers or their video producers, whatever the position might be, it's in constant flux, right? It's somebody different every other week. And so you get a huge like it's kind of like a roller coaster for them.
I think
right?
I think we should just. You know what I think it is? I think we should sort of drop the label internship. I feel like the label intern as opposed to maybe like apprenticeship, or like volunteer or something like that, because internship implies that you're going to be usually hired right afterwards. Like you're working to be hired, and that's sometimes not a case. Sometimes you're just working, and that's just some organizations are very clear is that this position will probably never be paid because it's just a position that just doesn't generate revenue, bottom line, or
But other words for it other than volunteer? I mean, it's a stepping stone. It comes with a glowing recommendation once you're done. You know what I mean? You put in your time here. Somebody's going to take notice of you because it gives you a platform with either audience or readers or viewers, whatever it is that you're doing.
Absolutely true.
Right? And it gives you the opportunity for somebody who can pay you to take notice.
True.
And that's ultimately why you're doing it. So nobody's saying, you know what, quit your day job, go volunteer in esports if that's what you want to do.
And those SpaghettiOs for the rest of your life.
Yeah, you know what, that's not the advice that anybody's recommending. But trying to abolish volunteer positions or unpaid internships in any industry is extremely unlikely, especially esports.
Okay, so we'll leave it on that. Let's move on to the next topic. This is a topic I'm sure, Tamir, you'll be very vocal because I know how much you love Heroes of the Storm.
Oh, I love Heroes of the Storm.
This is it's more of a headline reader, but for this is Heroes of the Storm adds strict harassment policy. More or less, Blizzard has made their policy for Heroes of the Storm sort of griefing, in-game griefing known. To sum it up, essentially, there's levels of which if you are in Fountain or you harass people or you intentionally die, you will be muted. There's sort of like a time if you do it again, that mute is made longer. If you are someone who falsely accuses someone, you could be muted, and then if you do it again, it can also be muted with no sort of indefinitency of timeline.
I heard some rumor actually that Blizzard is going to start banning players in Heroes of the Storm for purchasing incorrect items as well.
That's okay. Well, that's you don't buy. Wait a minute, you don't buy items in Heroes of the Storm. You buy it's the skills and stuff.
Well, sorry So basically, if you select the wrong skill, like if you have any kind of
that sounds a little extreme though. Like because you can buy whatever.
I might be making this up, but Big Brother Blizzard definitely strikes again. They just drop the hammer, crush any kind of individuality in the scene.
Oh
you know what?
That doesn't make sense, because then why don't they just automatically add your skills for you if they're gonna ban you for not choosing the right
I don't think that. I feel like that's
obviously.
I find that's
obviously I'm just making it up. I'm just trying to point out the fact that like why are you gonna like put your hand so far deep into the game and like make your players behave? It's like Nanny Blizzard. I think it's just going too far, honestly.
No, but you have to control the player experience is important. The player experience is important to the community. Rising up new players.
Make a solo game.
That dichotomy that you have to make either one or the other. No, you have to. There's a level of which games suffer, MOBAs specifically suffer from toxicity, right? So
Oh, no. Griefing is a part of every multiplayer game.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're playing
Okay.
like Mario Party or if you're playing League of Legends. Or, hey, look,
That Mario Party griefing?
if you ever play Mario Party with me, all I do is throw people off cliffs. All right, like, and that's part of it's part of multiplaying. You know, if you're playing with people that you don't like and don't like you, then yeah, you're gonna get some griefing. Like, it's not the end of the world, but I mean, trying to enforce people's best behavior while they're playing multiplayer games seems a bit like, I don't know. It's like I said, Big Brother Blizzard.
Okay. It hurts hurts the bottom line though. If you have new players unwilling to play because they don't want to be told that they're a scrub and that their mother has been screwed by them by 10 times and
if you've played a MOBA, many people have told you what your mother does for a living and what your father does with his spare time. We all get it. Like, I'm sure everybody knows. But that's, I mean, it's the internet. Like, it's no different on Reddit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, are you gonna start policing Reddit? Like, sorry, that comment could be taken like as misconstrued or somewhat ambiguous. I'm gonna need you to rephrase that. Like, it's.
Oh, yeah, but at the same time, you have to remember, like, the whole thing about Heroes of the Storm is accessible. That gimmick word where it's accessible and it wants everybody and their mother to be playing Heroes of the Storm. Yes. Grandmother needs to be booting up Heroes of the Storm. Your nanny needs to be playing Heroes of the Storm with you.
It's the approach that I don't like. Yeah. Like, they're just gonna ban you from chatting if you're being.
Well, isn't that the best?
But then just handicap in the next team that person plays in.
Look, I understand being able to report players for griefing, like if they're honestly doing stuff that is just ruining the game. Like, you know, you queue up for a game just to ruin 9 other people's like hour or however long a game of Heroes is.
And that does happen.
It does happen. I understand that should be kind of, you know, curtailed. I want to say, I don't want to say enforced, but I mean put a reporting system in place with some infractions. Basically, you know, if 5 people report you, then yeah, maybe you get muted for a little while, but not like. You know, it just, to me, it honestly sounds like they're like the new NSA, right? They're like scanning for code words in games. Like, did this person use the word scrub more than once in 30 minutes? Mute them. Like,
it actually could be that extrme.
That's what it sounds like. I don't know. I might be mistaken. I really don't pay too much attention to Heroes.
One thing I didn't, that also is also mentioned is that they changed their ranked from 5 to 2 and 1, which is, I guess, kind of in line with League of Legends. But I don't know why they would do that. Why would they?
Sorry, what do you mean? Oh, so I guess you can only queue as 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I guess you used to be able to use the queue as 5. But I guess
I think that's fair. I think it's disadvantageous if you queue up with a team of 5 and you play just 5 random guys.
They should probably, honestly, like without sounding too biased, Dota has a good solution to that, in that you can't, if you're queuing for ranked with 5 players, it's team matchmaking, right?
Yeah,
like you're queuing against 5 other people, right? Like you're definitely getting.
I thought that's a standard. Like, I feel
with
like
another 5 stack, but if you're queuing as 1, 2, or 3, then you're not going up against another 5 stack. Like,
yeah.
Interesting. Well, I think that only makes sense. But,
it does, but is that different?
No, I don't think, like, not what I'm reading.
That's probably where they want to go with it.
Probably.
I'm assuming that's by adding 1 and 2 player queues. Like, that's what they wanted to do.
Right.
And it only makes sense to do that.
But like, I don't know, like there's other solutions other than like muting people. Like, for example, why does each player, I'm sure, has the ability to just mute their team's chat, for example, which would remove the whole like, oh, this person's flaming me or whatever. Just mute them.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and is this person actually griefing? Like, are they just feeding the enemy? Are they throwing the game? Are they honestly harassing their own teammates? Report them. Like, you know what? And offer like either a kick option or like a forfeit game option. If somebody's honestly griefing like that and 4 of their teammates are really dissatisfied with the game, give them the option to leave. Like,
I'm surprised they never. I don't know. Like, is it me, or is there one of the MOBAs that allows you to vote members off that if they're so and so? Maybe that's just an older game. Because I remember they used to have that option where if you had somebody, if someone was griefing, you would submit a vote. And then you can get rid of them.
Counter-Strike has that, but that's because people can jump in and out at almost any time in like a casual match, not in a competitive match.
You know,
But-
maybe I'm thinking of Left 4 Dead.
Left 4 Dead.
But I mean,
The real esport here.
it's coming. But no, I mean, honestly, the reality is in most MOBA games, when you're playing either a competitive match or something like that, people can't join in the middle, so you can't actually give the option to kick people in the middle either. You know what I mean? But you can give the option to end the game, right? If somebody's honestly griefing and your team's done, it's like, all right, well, if 4 players want out, then done. Like, you know, don't feed the trolls kind of thing. Like, let them leave. But
Mitchell from the chat says that Han had the ability to kick, so I knew there was at least one MOBA. Yeah, I didn't know, but obviously that feature never made it into the other MOBAs.
No, I wonder if they would give hero control of whoever was kicked to his teammates.
Oh, that would be pretty legit. I mean, that would be that'd be legit.
That's how it is in Dota when somebody, like, depending on the circumstance, but you can
Wouldn't
you can
the
gain
bot
hero
take
control.
over?
No, actually, teammates gain control of the hero, but depending on the circumstance, like if you're in a competitive match and such, like you don't always get it. On not the topic of conversation anyway.
Anyway, so all right, so let's move on to the next item: underage gambling. Woo! More gambling topics. Woo! It's like the word of the day is gambling.
I think that's the word of esports 2015. Gambling.
I know. You know what? It's unfortunate. I would really hope that for 2015 it would be about breaking viewership. It would be
16.
about
16.
Yeah. Oh no! I would hope that if people look back at 2015 and this esports is about, you know, breaking viewership. It's about hitting new milestones with money, as opposed to like Adderall and gambling. I feel like this is what we've come to. It's Adderall and gambling.
I think the growth of viewership is just going to go up over time. That it's not going to be like.
Truth be told, you're gonna have both always. What you're saying, I mean, Drekken would like to look back and see only the peachy goodness of esports in 2015, but
I have rose-colored glasses.
The reality is, I mean, you're always gonna get both. I mean, those things that you said are obviously gonna be remembered. They're, you know, history in the making. $18 million, 3 million concurrent viewers, all those, you know, huge benchmarks, whatever. But you're also gonna get the, you know, the scummy part of any industry. Every industry has it, so. I don't
To give people context. Bloomberg Business did a report roughly yesterday on I guess that we might have a problem with underage gambling. Bloomberg Business is a very mainstream media publication, and the article goes on to talk about, you know, how esports, CS:GO, obviously this is targeted. I don't think any other game. Dota, I guess, has some betting, but maybe not as big as CS:GO.
No, I'd say it's as big.
You think so?
And
Okay.
other games as well. League of Legends has tons of betting. Like it exists. In
Oh
all
yeah, I
games.
guess I don't know. Some people would say dispute like fantasy sport is not the same as betting and gambling. So I don't know.
Oh well, dude, Dota and League of Legends. I know. Definitely Dota has fantasy leagues with money on the line, 100%. Either way, the context of this specific article that you're referring to is CS:GO.
Yeah, so CS:GO, and there's no regulation on who can bet on the skins in games. It obviously points out a truism because currently no one can. There is none. This falls in line with the fact that we were in the same place not too long ago about the whole Adderall situation. People in esports, there was no secret, and I'll be like, hopefully I'm not blowing anyone's mind, but Adderall has been around for quite some time. It wasn't recently created. And so players who also ran Adderall.
Is that like a peripheral? Is that like a keyboard or a mouse with an Adderall?
That's the brand.
It's a brand.
Performance enhancing drugs, but normally it's used for attention deficit disorder, hyperactivity disorder. Anyways, the reason I bring that up is just because there are things that normally aren't policed, and I don't think the average organization in esports will be able, especially with no governing body in esports, is going to be able to police things like underage gambling or, you know, like obviously ESL feels differently about the whole Adderall thing, but when it comes to things like underage betting, as long as there's no government body involved, like saying that you have to, I don't think any organization is gonna make that leap to say, you know, all right, only 14 can sign up and make sure your parents you know, put on your credit card here.
With every Big Brother argument, you have to remember it's all in the internet. Like who's gonna police this, right? Like there's no governing body over the internet. I mean, we take Bitcoin for example. People invent coins and then they trade them as though they're real money. People make skins and then trade them as though they're real money. It's like, are you gonna say that a 14-year-old can't use Bitcoins? They're too young. Like it's, I mean, it's I understand what they're getting at here because ultimately, you know, betting in any other case isn't legal for anybody under a certain age, depending on what country you live in and such. But the fact of the matter is,
I think we just live in a new age.
How do you go about even monitoring it? Not to mention policing it. By virtue of the fact that it's all online. Like,
okay, well, how do others like? How does like? I'm sure regular gambling sites must at some point like keep, you know, people off, or pornography sites perhaps. I don't know.
The thing is, it dodges all definitions of gambling by the law, or not all, but most definitions.
I don't know.
You're not directly exchanging money. You're exchanging these little avatars that like
that's such
skins,
like a
right? It helps get around all of it, and it's not constituted as gambling. That's how it exists, and that's why.
That's such like a Japan Akabara method of screwing.
Oh no, it's. I mean, if you ever played for marbles or whatever, you know what I mean. You bet your friend a couple of marbles. You know, you got your shiny red marble or whatever. You put it on the line. You win. You lose. You lose. I mean, you're gonna outlaw that as well. Like
I did that for Pokemon cards.
There you go. So. Pokemon cards under 14 years of age illegal. Like, what are you gonna?
There's nothing you can do about it.
No, yeah. there really isn't. And but the question is, if there was something you could do about it, should you, and would we? I don't think so personally. I mean, the thing with gambling and the reason that it's illegal is because it can be addictive and people can blow away enormous amounts of money, savings, future, whatever you want to call it, in short amount of time simply by making poor decisions, right? By not being either intelligent about their decisions in terms of how much they can spend.
See, I thought it was the aftermath of the hookers and blows that made it.
That's what I mean. It's always a slippery slope argument. You know, you let them bet one skin for 30 cents. In 5 years, they're, you know, dropping their grandmother's life savings on skins so that they can bet more. Like. Yeah.
Gotta get those knives. Those knives.
That's
grandma's inheritance money already siphoned away before she's dead. Oh.
Well, the point is comparing, you know, gambling on fantasy leagues or betting on matches in esports to, you know, casino boats where millions of dollars are lost on a daily basis. If that's the comparison that you want to draw and say that, you know, this is like that, then basically what you're saying is that these kids are going to lose themselves in the gambling industry here, and they're gonna fall victim to, you know, call it, I guess, internet pirates who are swindling them out of their skins. So
those internet pirates,
like
internet pirates of the Caribbean.
Well, that's what I mean. The internet equivalent of hookers and blow that are gonna lap up all these skins from these poor unsuspecting children, you know, by hooking them on gambling at a ripe young age of 12 or 13. I don't know. I'm of the mindset that if it's not a problem, let's not treat it as one. Is it a problem right now? Do we have gambling addicts online? Are there kids all over the world that are spending their money on skins in order to gamble it away? I haven't heard of this crisis yet.
That's what it is. That the issue is that kids are stealing their parents' credit cards and then gambling and stuff like that.
I don't know.
I think gambling. I think gambling's good, but like the onus is on the parents. Like, don't have them take your credit. Like, it's not the game's fault. It's your fault.
Yeah,
take your parents' credit card. Let your kids steal your credit card. You're a terrible parent.
No, but Josh makes a good point. Like, it's like blaming the teacher for your kid's bad grades. It's, you know, it's not the teacher's fault. Just like it's not CS:GO skins or whatever the website's fault that your kid stole your credit card and did something they weren't supposed to. You know, discipline your children.
I think Stu actually put in the chat the good point. It's not that the minors are gambling; it's whether these websites should be allowed to make money off of minors making bad decisions. And
they shouldn't. Oh. But how are they gonna know that it's a kid or not?
Well, that's
I
probably the
can
most
sign up
difficult.
under my parents' name, and then
That's true. And that's the same thing. Like with pornography sites that say you need to be
Yeah.
18 to get in here, you just click yes, I am 18.
Yep.
And away you go, right? So.
what?
Oh, sometimes you have to do some simple math like enter a birthday, but
Really? What kind of difficult porn site are you going to?
oh, I was talking about the gambling sites. I used to have an online gambling addiction problem myself.
Okay, my bad. I shouldn't have assumed. Okay,
But,
well, I think we can
no.
beat that to death. We only have one more topic left before we bring on our guests, but this is gonna be a doozy. I like this one. This is exciting.
Oh, boy.
So, Gaming Paradise. This almost didn't make it in, but recent developments have turned this into a hotbed. Oh man, I don't even know really where to begin. I don't know if there's an article floating around about Gaming Paradise. But
You sound like you work for them.
oh, it's all the sweat. I'm already sweating and everything. Tamir, you know the most about it. Do you want to give us like a rundown about it?
Okay, well, nobody knows too much unless you were there or privy to
Well,
some...
what is the event? I guess we should describe the event.
But basically, from the outside, like I said, Gaming Paradise was a very cool, unique idea in terms of esports, where they wanted to pair esports and tourism together by offering up a week-long retreat at a, I guess, respectable resort somewhere in Slovenia.
Slovenia.
A respectable resort where basically spectators would attend this week-long retreat, right? Like call it an all-expenses paid vacation, or sorry, all-inclusive vacation, not all expenses paid. All-inclusive vacation where you're gonna go watch esports, right? They have like CS:GO, pro teams competing, pro Dota 2 teams competing, and it honestly seems like a very cool, unique, definitely like innovative, first of its kind type of event where I was talking to Drekkonis about this the other day, and I would have loved.
Yeah, I would have gone.
I would have loved to have gone. I mean, a week long of watching pro CS:GO and pro Dota while staying at a resort. It sounds awesome. Unfortunately, I think that their plans were better than their execution. That's kind of where I guess I'll let you continue on what you're saying.
Where we started right now, with a flurry of tweets from Toby1, we've gotten a sort of an insight that essentially the event is falling apart.
Sorry, just some context. Toby is just the caster. He's casting both CS:GO and Dota 2 at this event.
Oh, he's casting both. I didn't realize.
Yes, he's a very reputable caster for Dota. He's been in the Dota scene for very long. He is an aspiring CS:GO caster. He's actually, I should say, very well accomplished CS:GO caster, but only recently made the transition into casting more than one game. But the point behind what I'm trying to say here,
he was Dota first before he CS:GO, wasn't he?
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's why I said like aspiring yet accomplished CS:GO caster.
I see. Okay.
The transition was rather natural to him. But the point really is he's only a caster. So anything that is paraphrased from Toby or any tweets or anything like that, you have to remember he's not an event organizer. He's not a planner, coordinator. He's not actually in charge of any of that kind of stuff. He didn't oversee any of it. He's just a caster. So whatever information he's passing on is just what he's seeing, what he's observing, what he's collecting from players and organizers and such.
So where we leave now, Gaming Paradise is sort of falling out of the scenes. First, we had that the Dota 2 portion of the event was canceled. A lot of teams deciding not to attend. A few teams deciding not to attend because of flights not being booked, stipends not reaching where they need to be. Some teams,
technical difficulties at the event.
Technical difficulties, people being skittish. CS:GO, I discovered recently that CS:GO was currently being played at this event. It is being played out. Yes. CS:GO was happening. It started, I guess, last week.
Nope, started early this week.
Okay.
Yeah, the 6th, I believe, is when it started on Sunday.
So
and it was supposed to end today, but they're just about halfway through it, I believe, because of the technical difficulties. They had some power outages, like a fuse shorted or blew out, I can't remember, and some like internet and some other stuff. Computers missing graphics cards.
Oh my god, the computers missing graphics cards was the best part.
A bunch of random technical difficulties. Basically, we're talking like 12-hour delays on like the first day kind of deal, just pushed back everything. So
it's essentially it crashed, it burned, and then today the event is officially canceled. The event is officially canceled from what the reports are saying currently.
There's no official reports, unfortunately. That's why I felt it important to preface the whole thing with, like I said, anything that Toby says.
I see. So there isn't even like a that was only Toby saying that it was canceled, but
right, and that's like what he heard, what's been told to him. But the point is, if you go to Gaming, they have a Twitter account. I'll look up the Gaming Paradise Twitter account right now, see if there's been any official news down the pipeline while you continue to talk.
Yeah, so Dota 2 though is officially canceled.
Absolutely.
CS:GO is trying its best to being played out, and that's trying to be happen. This comes to a question, I guess this brings up is, we thought in esports, we think ourselves, like, at this point, we thought we were past this. Events collapsing under their own hubris, organizations disappearing into the night with all the players' money. We thought we were past that, but we're not. This is, this almost feels like CGS, CPL, rewind, remixed, or some of the other notorious events that disappeared overnight. If we had a regulatory body, this wouldn't have happened. But we live in a wild, wild west when it comes to esports, and anyone can pick up and be an organizer. But that's why we have with certain games that organizations need to validate that they can run an event. For example, League of Legends. Well, actually, League of Legends is a poor example. StarCraft, you do need to, over a certain threshold, you need to show Blizzard that your money is in escrow for the prize pool. Mind you, that wouldn't have saved this event from being like financially poor, because I don't believe you have to display your financials to Blizzard. Just the prize pool. The prize pool itself needs to be secured. But are we in a situation that maybe event organizers need a bit of policing? Or is that where we might need to go with esports?
Are you putting that onus on the developer of the game though?
Aren't they the only ones? They're the only ones.
Oh, you can't host a tournament for a game. Anyone could say they're going to host a tournament.
Well, past a threshold, you'd have to be a threshold after a certain amount of prize pool, like a prize pool threshold. After a certain part of prize pool, then a developer might step in and say, "All right, now we need to see that this game, like the integrity of your event, right?" And the only person who has that kind of power is the publisher. Nobody, no organization can come and say they're going to be regulatory for the other organizations. Only the publisher has that power.
I like that idea, but I feel like the more power you give to the developer, the more they're going to abuse that and do what they want. I don't know. I agree. Like, shit like this shouldn't happen, but like, it's so, yeah. Go ahead, Tamir.
I was definitely going to say that it can't be part of the publisher's repertoire to hold, who does or does not get to run tournaments. I don't think that's that's good for the environment, the ecology, and however you want to look at it. It's just a case of judge, jury, executioner, right? If one organizing body has the power to not only try, test, and execute you, you're probably in for a lot of trouble.
But it hurts your community. As a publisher, it hurts your community when an organization does something like that to members of your community.
You know what? It does. It is kind of a blow in the sense that people are upset, money is lost, but it also is a learning experience, and it does make your community a little more, I want to say, enlightened. I doubt that any team manager is going to jump into an event without looking both ways again at least for a little while after this, and I think that that's kind of one of the advantages of the free market in the esports scene, is that anybody can run an event, and if you're a professional team and you're looking to participate in some kind of event, then do your homework before you jump in, just assuming that everything's going to be fine and good, because anywhere else you go, you do get like poorly run organizations, and that's really what it is. This organization kind of dropped the ball in terms of their planning and execution. They had a great idea, a lot of people bought into it, and unfortunately a lot of people lost out, and that's just kind of I feel like it's growing pains. I don't feel like it's something that's like, oh, we better get a governing body in place right now or else this is going to happen again. I mean, I'm sure it will happen again, and I think that it should happen again, because as as an industry, we need to learn. We need to develop. We can't just, as soon as something goes a little wrong, we can't all get hopped up on the notion that if anything goes wrong, we're done for. Like esports isn't going anywhere. Bad organizers are going places. They're going out of business. So I think it's kind of not only self-regulating, it's a little bit of natural selection, and I really don't think that anything drastic needs to be done about this. Although I will say I am largely in favor of a third-party organization to oversee tournament infrastructure and development. They call it like I don't know, like the esports.
Esports
I don't know,
event Nana.
Yeah, something. Just either way, I'm for lack of a better term, it's just somebody to come in and say, like, you know what, we've vetoed these event organizers. You can safely send your teams here. You can safely say, we have inspected most, or if not all, of the elements of this event, and you're safe to participate.
And this has come up many times in esports, a player association. Oh my gosh, I really don't like associations and stuff. But
I wouldn't call it a player association. I was more talking about like for events. So like if an event would become like, call it.
Yeah, but an association would inspect an event and then they would give the go ahead to teams to let them participate in the event after they have gone through it, or
actually what I would recommend is what I would do is this organization would offer up its inspection for the event, so that the event could say, you know what, we've been looked at and we're above board, like everything is
like a little certification. You get like a little
exactly
stamp.
Like a little stamp, and you put it on your website or whatever. Say, like, you know what, when you're coming to this event, whether as a spectator or as a player, you can rest assured that
that's actually not a terrible idea. Actually,
right? Just kind of like you do with whatever. If you're buying something organic, or if you're buying like hiking shoes or whatever, every other industry has these organizations that inspect your product and stamp. Whether you're building a website or whatever, right? Like if you're gonna get a stamp and say, like, you know what, this is done properly.
That's
anybody
not a
who's
terrible
visiting
idea.
here, anybody
like
who's
that.
visiting this, yeah.
The thing is, though, it takes out it makes it harder for newer people who have good ideas to also let that flourish.
But
I understand we're gonna get screwed again
with new people with bad ideas.
Yeah, but like also the industry needs to grow, and when it grows, like, it needs to grow through new ideas and like having these things played out to see how they work. I don't know.
Absolutely. So we'll leave it at that. We're going to move on to our guests, which a lot of people are waiting to see, and I'm excited to see. So, without further ado, we'd like to welcome Stu Grubbs, CEO and founder from InfiniScene. Woo! Welcome, Stu. Come on down. The price.
Hi, guys.
All right, Stu. So, Stu, you are the CEO/founder of InfiniScene. What would you describe InfiniScene? I almost called it a web app, but it's not really like a web app. It's like a browser app, a browser. I don't know.
It's a website.
It's a website.
We call it web-based broadcasting software to those who are already streamers. But I think one of the things we like to say is that we're trying to build creative software that enables anyone to share what they love with a live audience.
So this is something similar in the same veins as XSplit and OBS, correct?
Yes. So very much the same way. We make it easy for people to broadcast their games or anything else that they'd like to share. We have obviously several unique things about us. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing this. But
we're going to get into that. We're going to definitely get into that. So start us off. What gave you the idea to do this in the first place?
Well, it wasn't my idea, actually.
You're just the money.
All right. Well.
No, a friend of mine called me last summer and said, "Hey, I'm working on this idea, and I could use some help in terms of the business side of it." And we all joke about how much convincing it took for a few of us to come on board, because we're like, "Oh, that's a pretty cool idea, but man, that's going to be pretty intense if we can pull that off." So eventually, we all agreed and ended up doing it. But actually, Sean Delaney, Forecourt Jester,
Sean.
I think, who's in the chat right now, had this idea to control broadcasting through a browser. As we, sort of marinated that idea at a number of different people, we decided, what if we put the whole video studio in a web browser and made it easy for everyone? And so it evolved from there. We would eventually add Dan to the team, and Aaron and Ryan, and then towards the end of the summer, I came on and we built out product roadmap and a whole number of other things and made it a real project of ours. We spent the last year building it before getting into Techstars earlier this summer.
So he's like the Steve Wozniak, and you're like the Steve Jobs.
I'd say Dan is our Steve Wozniak. Sean went on to do his casting career, which he's doing quite well at. I think everybody is starting to see more and more of Sean, and his face and his hat appear just about everywhere.
Yep.
But yeah, nowadays it's Dan's Woz, and
so that means like Sean
I'm a nice version of Steve Jobs.
Oh, so that means like Sean is
saying.
like that guy from Facebook who left when got no money. Can't remember his name.
Oh, he got money.
Did he get money? Okay, well then.
Yeah, there's a lot of odd parallels I'm sure you could draw.
He definitely got money.
All right. So it's funny for those who don't know, Sean. He casted here on our channel for a good long while back in the days, and with StarCraft, and then bit of Awesome Knots and a couple other stuff, and then he's gone to do Heroes of the Storm. He was actually also one of our hosts many a times until his casting career took off and left us in the dust. We love you, Sean.
Too famous now. He's too famous.
Too famous for us all. So tell me a bit about InfiniScene. So what kind of people are interested in this? Is this like new people, or are we talking about like sort of anybody who wants to stream stuff from, playing a visual novel, or are we talking about like professional streamers who have a studio and they're trying to put on $10,000 tournaments?
Yeah, I think it helps us start from the beginning. Last summer when we came on board, we had some ideas of what we wanted to do, and at first it was, okay, we'll build something for experienced broadcasters that does really unique things like advanced animations and those sorts of things. And then as we started to move through, actually building it, we realized, well, what we're really doing is making it easy for anyone. And the reason that is in most cases when you start to become a streamer, you load up OBS or XSplit, and I think you're pretty overwhelmed just at first with understanding what bit rates are and codecs and stream keys and how to get it all linked together and laid out. Whereas what we've done is made it as simple as logging in with your Twitch account, adding the items that you'd like to stream, dragging those into place, and pressing start broadcast. And at no point are you having to measure your bandwidth to see what your bit rate should be, etc. I think we have a lot of work ahead of us, but I think ultimately our goal is to make it easy for a beginner, and then as we grow, because of the way that we're build more advanced features than are currently capable with local software.
So,
and by local software, I obviously mean things you'd install on your PC.
Now, do you think that that's going to be a limitation to your software at all, because it's all browser based and it's supposed to be simple? Like, does that mean like only like sort of the newer streamers, and then people might graduate to another software? To you guys,
not if done correctly. I think you could say that about almost anything that's seen simple. I mean, the goal is to build a product that is both simple in its initial use, but has a depth to it that you feel like it grows with you. So the real trick in product development, and I guess I could give a bit of my background next, but one of the goals of product development is to say, build something that your immediate and visceral reaction is, wow, I get this. And then as you grow and become more experienced with that product, say, oh, I didn't know it could do all these other things. So for us, it's about hiding those advanced options in the beginning, and then as you grow, being able to reveal those and say, oh, I really need the ability to tweak this one little thing. And so, yes, it's kind of like in the way that a good an iPhone or say an Android OS that's well built has that simplicity when you start, and it's very obvious how to use it. But then as you grow, you get kind of wowed by its power. So, I mean, obviously, like I said, we're very young, but that is the plan, is to build something that starts off with this level of simplicity, but grows into something that I think, because of the way we're built in the cloud, actually has a tremendous amount of power.
So, give me a little bit of a history of this or background. Like, is this a bootstrap thing, or is venture funded? What are we looking at?
Yeah. So, I'll take this opportunity to give a little bit of my background. You guys are talking about unpaid internships and had me laughing. I was one of the early team members of Gotfrag.com, if anybody even remembers that.
Oh my gosh.
Talk about old guard. This man is old. But
so you
I was
actually
one of
were
the
in
early,
esports,
and I worked for 3 years there for free to get into the esports industry. And we eventually would sell to MLG, where I got my first job in the business. And I went to go work for a few other companies, including Ace Tech, which made liquid cooling. Most recently, though, I ran global marketing and had some involvement in the products at SteelSeries. I left that job about 2 years ago to give it a shot doing my own thing. And in the middle of doing one thing, got a call from Aaron last year to do this thing. And InfiniScene excited me in a number of ways. A chance to enter the gaming market, to make a big impact on a community that I've loved for a lot of years. And so what we did we did bootstrap it. Dan and Ryan and Aaron were all working full-time jobs while working at night to make this thing happen. I had a little bit of money saved up, and I drained all of that to pay for our legal expenses and some server bills and some other things we did. I mean, everybody contributed financially. And I was probably, I think, the only first-time full-time employee for a while. And I use the term employee loosely, as our first paycheck was in June. So if that gives you an idea.
Did you frame it? Tell me you framed it.
It's all digital. There's nothing to frame. I mostly just, cried with relief, since it was my first paycheck since 2013.
So you made it a background.
What's that?
I'm saying digital. I'd make it my background on my computer.
I should have. That's actually, I'm going to get that right when we get done here. So yeah, bootstrapped, and then in February, we had been working pretty hard to make this thing actually work in the way that we wanted it to. And Dan, we got on our weekly call, and Dan goes, "Holy shit, it works!" And I said, "That's great. Now that we have a working prototype, let's take this and see if anybody else is interested in it." And so what we did was we tried to raise some money. We applied to a couple accelerators. I'm not sure how familiar everyone is with an accelerator, but Techstars is considered the best in the world. They get about 1,000 applications, and they take 10 companies to mentor over the course of a summer. And by mentor, these are the founders of many of the famous startups that you've heard of, and they try to cram 2 to 3 years of entrepreneurial experience into your company and help it grow and help you develop faster. They give you a little bit of money. So this summer has been the first time we've actually worked full-time on it, no other distractions like real jobs, and all worked in the same office and been building since first week of July.
So that's kind of like Y Combinator.
Yeah, it's a little different in the sense that Y Combinator is considered an incubator where you can get in with an idea, and they take about 114 companies. So Techstars is a little bit more focused in that they only take 10, and that most of what they do is mentor-driven. So they try to pair you up with people that understand your business and your market and what you're building, and help accelerate the growth of a product. So we had to have a product to actually get into the program.
So you can just come in with like hopes and dreams.
Yeah, and in some other ones you can get in with the hopes and dreams. Here it's all about growth and becoming a better team member, leader, whatever it might be that each of us, our roles we play.
Does you guys mentor stick around, or after you guys get out of the Techstars, you're like, oh, well, see ya?
We've actually been very fortunate. I'm not sure. I think in most cases, at least 1 or 2 mentors stick around. We have about 10 right now that.
Oof, 10.
Yeah, I mean, they vary in focus. So we have some guys that are great at infrastructure, servers, those sorts of things. We have developer mentors. We have guys, Jason Rubenstein's our primary mentor. He's currently at Redbox, but he was formerly the game developer evangelist at Intel, and was there for about 10 years. He used to work at Ubisoft, a number of different places. So we've got a lot of great talent from different sides of the business, whether it be helping me be a better CEO and lead this in the right direction, or helping Dan build a better product by, checking how we're structuring the servers and that sort of thing.
All right, so let's get into. I'm decided for whether I'm going to go into let's go into the beautiful parts. Tell us about some of the features that make InfiniScene different from, say, OBS and XSplit, because right now we use OBS. So think of it like you're pitching it to me. Pitch it to me like that. You're like, reckon you guys use OBS?
No pressure.
What you need to use is InfiniScene.
No pressure.
Yeah, well, I think it's also important to note that a lot of what we're doing wouldn't be possible without these guys, leading the way. So we are fundamentally different in that local software gets installed, and your machine and you are primarily responsible for making a stream happen. Your own expertise in how to set the settings, your machine and powering the encoding and all that sort of stuff. With us, we're trying to take as much of that away as necessary. So we allow you to log in with a platform account and remove most of that setup. We do have a small app that runs in the system tray, but ultimately that's the only thing that needs to run. There is a bit of encoding that happens on the user's machine, but we try to move the large majority of the compositing. I don't know if I should speak in layman's terms, but compositing is layering of different assets. So, for instance, in this you have an overlay, multiple video assets. So we try to do the compositing and that encoding on our servers, try to relieve you of some of that work. I think what's interesting, the more of the wow factor is that right now the 4 of us are using Skype. And I'm sure that you guys have a wonderful time using Skype, but in the future...
Oh, God.
We love Skype.
Yeah, Skype, big Skype fans. What's interesting about us being a web-based broadcaster is that in the future, each of you would be able to log in as users on one project. So each of you would add your camera to the project and your audio source, and then layer those in the browser, or one of you could layer it, or all of you could have editing access, think Google Docs style, and then all of you are each focused on getting your stuff to us, and then we layer and composite all that in the cloud and code that and send it to Twitch. So no more needing to rely on something like Skype to function 100% during your stream. You have multiple users sending multiple inputs remotely into the same stream, and then all of that is handled through a browser interface that's relatively simple.
That's actually pretty cool, because that, honestly, Skype is like the bane of my existence. It's only because it's a necessity that it still hangs around. So essentially, we would sort of be like, for example, like a show like this could be done instead of we all kind of push it towards Twitch ourselves, or we integrate, like all our hands sort of touch the broadcast in many ways, like making sure that we are set up and stuff like that. And I guess it'd be a broadcast lead or someone who handles the whole broadcast.
Who handles OBS right now?
Our director, Master Dulk, he handles OBS right now.
All right, Master Dulk. Well, what he would do is have InfiniScene open in a web browser, and then each of you had have that little InfiniScene app running, so he could grab the camera and the desktop or whatever else he needed, add the image assets up on the server, and that would get all composited up by us.
Oh.
So, let's say you had a new asset you wanted to add and said, hey, we got to show these images during the broadcast. You could also log into that same editor, upload your images, and then he could see those and grab those and position them in other scenes. So it's very much like I said, Google Docs is a good analogy for how we hope this will be working when it's
Could something like this happen? I have a computer. Like I have a computer in a different room or something like completely separate, and I have a game running on a totally different PC, and they all have the InfiniScene app running. So computer running at home, running the game, capturing the game, and then someone else's camera is at home. Can I combine those no matter where their location, like even the game actual, like the game?
So I'll call your example and raise you another.
Okay.
We've been talking to Robot Entertainment, who make All Orcs Must Die.
Okay.
You've seen Orcs Must Die, Unchained, those. So they do a playtest stream every week where they have 11 playtesters on different PCs.
Right.
And then they stream that so they can showcase their game before it's launched. So they're pulling remotely from each of those PCs the game footage and then mixing those over in the web browser and sending that up. So yes, remote pulling from another desktop.
Wow. That actually is
the game
changes.
changer.
That's what I would say. That is actually, so for example, 5 people are playing, well, maybe not CSGO is not a good example, but like...
Oh, that's a great example.
So, okay, let's say CSGO, 5 players playing CSGO. I can pull each one of their screens and display them simultaneously, in theory.
I mean, you just got rid of like thousands of dollars of heavy equipment in doing that.
I'm just seeing, is that the key kind of capability we're talking about, that I could capture technically 5 separate machines playing a game and mix them remotely, maybe even on my tablet in theory, and guessing if it's not browser intensive, mix these scenes on the fly together, right?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, that is, and the key word there is in theory. We have been, right now we do, what we do well is we can do 2 to 3. We're getting up there in our ability to handle more. We have fundamental upgrades coming to the way that we handle multiple assets in multiple scenes so that they don't disconnect when you switch scenes and things like that. But yes, I mean, and the reason why I speak so candidly is we are in beta. But we've built the structure as such that, yes, what you just described is completely feasible. It's just simply a matter of us testing all these use cases and getting the code in there to handle it. But yes, that is the goal.
And I'm guessing this will eventually be mobile friendly, so I can pull up my tablet and
so let's talk about some of the other crazy features.
Okay. There's more.
There's quite a few more, and I won't share them all because sometimes you like to keep your cards a little close.
No, but listen, this is where you bring the exclusive to our show. Come.
Well, so right now, if you're beta testing and you close the browser, it does actually end the stream. But we are close to being able to close the browser, and then you could say open your phone and load m.infiniscene.com, like the mobile version of our site, and use that as a remote control. So this is great for solo streamers who only have one monitor, or even if they have two, they don't want to keep the browser open the whole time. So once their browser's all set up and their scenes are all set up, they could load this little mobile version of our site and then switch scenes right from their phone. So from the mobile website. And we'll also have the ability to start and stop broadcasts. We also can do that for tablet. And then we're looking at building some native applications that actually allow you to access the camera or screen of the phone. But yes, there's some pretty interesting things that you'd be able to do with devices for sure.
Oof, I think
mobile esports are gonna be a thing.
Oh my god! No, don't bring up mobile esports. You know how much I despise mobile esports.
Well, I hope it's ready in time for EGL.
So we can capture all that Clash of Clans. Oh
yeah, we gotta capture Clash of Clans. So get that mobile capture ready for us.
I can tell you that for us, we're trying to build everything. There's a lot of companies I think that try to build fast, and the experience suffers because of it. We have built sort of methodically, and that's why I think it's taken us a little over a year to even get where we are now. But we're taking the time to really think out every feature before we build it. So it may take us time to grow this, but I think the key thing for us, I've told you I've been in gaming for a little over 10 years. The rest of our team has worked in other gaming startups as well as in just traditional gaming companies. For us, it's really important that we work side by side with our community members. Our beta testers have been insanely awesome, from spending 7 hours with us on a Saturday. One guy even let us remote desktop into his computer so we could see exactly what was happening. There's a whole bunch. But these guys have just been super dedicated to what we're doing. So building alongside the community is important. We're going to be.
I was part of some of that. As part of some of that beta test. I had some of that very same thing. Actually, I don't remember. It may have been you. Someone from your team answered me because you guys had like this little pop up that's when I'm trying to live chat while you're trying to do stuff, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And someone's like, you look like you're having problems. Let me help you. And I was like, oh, hey.
It's probably, sounds about right. But we've been, exactly. And so what we're trying to do now is we're going to allow the beta testers to invite some more friends, and we're trying to keep it at a scale where the feedback remains, what do you want to call it, actionable, I guess, and not just noise. We could invite 4,000 people to use this product, but then who knows what happens next. So what we want to do is keep building with small groups of enthusiastic people that actually help us build something better, and not just something.
Also, I want to confirm it was Aaron. Aaron who was the one who helped me.
Okay.
I was testing it. So this is fantastic. Actually, I have to admit, there was the levels when we first did it. I actually didn't know it could go to this far. This is actually really exciting. Not to say it wasn't exciting when I first thought about inviting you, but I understand. You're pulling out the tickle trunk, and suddenly all these goodies are flying out. So let's sort of carry it or bring it back to home. And this is always the things when it comes to tech companies: monetization plans. Mm-hmm. What's the ideas there? Is there ideas? Is that something that's coming up? Yeah,
absolutely. I think that the only way that, you know, you gotta remember, some of our team members have kids and homes and stuff, so we do have to be, we do have to make this a business at some point.
Well, that's what I mean. Some people are very, you know, will give it away for free, and it'll never, you know. But I don't know if you can build a business on free. Like,
always remember that anyone giving away things for free also has a monetization plan. It just doesn't involve asking you for the money.
then you're the product, right? Isn't that how that goes?
Yeah, either you're the product, the data's the product, or the companies that they're going to work with to market to you are the product. But at any rate, our product is not going to be free. We're going to have a free tier that people can use. It'll probably be limited to 720p, and then have some other features that, you know, aren't there or are there. We're still working a lot of that out. That's part of the beta test, actually, is asking them about those things.
So your community is giving you a lot of feedback on this monetization plan kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's crucial that, you know, we feel that not only is the monetization plan going to sustain the business, but also is something that our community accepts. There's, you know, forcing things on people is just, it's a good way to lose customers, and it's also a good way to lose touch with your community. I mean, we're building this for ourselves as well. So it's a software as a service in a traditional sense. There will be a free tier, and then there will be paid tiers where we're looking at several price points. And then there's like a professional, so there's free, there's a easy to digest price for most people, and then there's a professional tier that has some pretty crazy features in it in the future. We're not going to release that probably for a while. It's a little more expensive, but it's for partners who are actively turning their channel into a business and can afford to pay for that sort of tier.
That makes sense. Are we talking about subscription or one-time fees?
Subscription. Because of the way that we're built and the services that we provide, it actively costs us money every time a user streams. So it's important. So it has to be a subscription in the sense that if we're doing the encoding for you, somebody has to pay for the encoding, and in this case, it turns out to be us. And we're paying Amazon to do that. It's currently our service provider, but we're exploring a few other options there, in addition to bandwidth costs and other things. So yes, it will have to be a monthly subscription. But the idea here is that with local software, you know, you pay for that. You might get it at one time. We plan to iterate on a weekly basis, and so you'll see features in your broadcaster improve as you're a subscribing user. But yeah, that's the nature of what we're doing.
All right, so I think I have one last question, then we'll let our audience get an opportunity. By the way, guys, if you have any questions for Stu, say in the chat. I'll read it out, and Stu can either answer it or not answer it, depending on. I think that one last, or do any of the other hosts, did you guys have any questions, by the way, before I throw one of my questions out?
No, I mean, I was just going to say that it makes a whole lot of sense to have a subscription-based fee structure, just because, you know, you're obviously paying for a hardware cost that otherwise would be based in whoever's either home or office, whatever be the case. You're saving people potentially thousands of dollars from being able to stream from any machine, even from a phone or a tablet. So I would pay personally.
Thank you.
Well, this definitely seems like a little bit higher end than your typical streaming software. Is our consoles?
Can I point out one thing actually before we get to your next question? One of the other things that I think is interesting to talk about as a subscription is that we are building and sort of fostering that community of streamers, right? But we're also going to build some marketplaces around our product. So designers will actually be able to design overlay packages that they can then sell to streamers.
Like a marketplace.
And so you'll have, we're going to try not to take a piece of that other than for the hosting and some nominal costs, but largely the designer will keep most of that money. And the idea is that these designers are able to monetize their own designs as overlay packs and things like that. But then these newcome streamers are like, I have this ugly stream. I was able to get up and running, but it's true. And can I just buy a pack of stream or overlays that I can just use in the short term until I can get a designer? And then the second part of that is that you see many of these young guys building companies that are doing animations in web elements, those sorts of things with CLR browser and those sorts of different plugins and whatnot. Because we're a web-based broadcaster, those web element animations and things like Twitch alerts actually can run natively inside of our application. No CLR necessary. We are a web-based broadcaster, therefore all of that works natively. and we're going to build a marketplace for that as well. So any talented web developer could actually produce news tickers for the bottom of your stream, Twitch alerts, those sorts of things, and then sell those as well if they'd like. They can offer them for free if they'd like, but they could also sell them and create. And in this way, we hope that we also create economic opportunity for other people that want to support the streaming community. And again, with that subscription to our service, if you're using it, you have this group of developers and designers that are actually making the platform better alongside the people inside the community.
All right,
on our team. I mean,
I'm going to say, though, you probably should take a piece. Like, I don't know. Valve, if Valve can do it, I don't see why you can't.
Yeah, so our idea for this isn't obviously a huge economic opportunity for us. So what we probably do is take just enough to cover the hosting or whatever operational costs are with hosting those plugins. But otherwise, our goal is to hopefully create an environment where the designers and the developers actually get to make the majority of the money on that.
Oh, someone did ask a question. Timir, did you see that question about the API?
Yeah, I mean, basically it's just whether or not you will have an API, which you kind of already said you somewhat will, but will it be more robust than just overlays and like whether it's news feeds or anything like that? Basically, will people be able to write bots, scripts, all that kind of stuff as well?
Yes. So the idea for most of the overlays and transitions, those sorts of things, those would exist on our server in terms of that hosted environment. But for something like outbound, API information, that sort of stuff, we will have something available for those plugins and those sorts of things. I think will run more effectively if we host them. So it'd be better for them to upload it to the marketplace. But we'll have an API that allows them to run bots and other things that they like.
How rigid are we talking about in terms of control with the user? Are we thinking Apple ecosystem where you design all the transitions and you give the user like a swath of transitions to pick from? Or are you gonna say, guys, go nuts? If you can program in Java, you can create your own transition, swipe, fade into black, or I don't know why I said Java, but that's
it's an excellent question, and I think one that I naturally have an inclination towards, but we haven't answered this question. I'll go ahead and just answer it for you right now, but this is off the cuff. I think that we'll do enough screening to make sure that nobody's getting hurt by that script, whatever it might be, but otherwise it'll be an open platform. We will do a little bit to make sure that no code is being used to exploit anybody else or that sort of thing. And then, of course, if somebody is charging for something, that they're charging for something that should be charged for and not ripping people off.
What about gambling?
Other than just protecting our existing community, I don't think, it's going to be a largely open platform for people to publish their creations.
So are you going to have like a gambling feature available?
Oh my God, bringing back the gambling into every conversation. This is the NA key. Oh.
I just, if you want to know for no, but I also want to point out, I don't have a stance on the issue. I have a good view on both sides of that issue that I can see why one would be concerned about the other. I hear the points about letting people do what they will do, but I also see, why certain cultures have removed gambling from their culture. So, it's not a case-by-case basis, but, it's not mine to obviously make decisions there.
So, question from the chat. InfiniScene's main market seems to be for gaming. Are there plans for expanding to web shows or other markets?
Absolutely. So, we're doing gaming because each of us has about a decade of experience building products in this market. And I personally am just, in love with our, what we do. I think also that the gaming industry is leading the way in live streaming more than anyone else. And you're seeing a lot of new platforms pop up for coding or design or, what have you. Even online education is getting into live streaming. But we're largely focused on gaming because that's what we know. We've got a lot of great contacts. I mean, a lot of the people that are, at Twitch are longtime friends of mine. Ryan Wyatt and other members of the YouTube gaming team are longtime friends of mine. I think it's a good place for us to start for a number of reasons. But yes, I think I think you heard me at the beginning when I said that we build creative software that enables anyone to share their passion, talent, and creativity with the world. We mean it. We know that this has a broader scope than just gaming, but we're going to start here because I think we fell in love with this industry a long time ago, and we're going to see if we can nail this one first. And if we do, we'll move on to bigger ones.
Okay, so that leaves, I think I have 2 questions left. So the second last one, will this software integrate with more advanced equipment? So we're talking like not just webcams, but we're talking about like high-end cameras, high-end microphones, stuff like that. Like, is this something that we? Someone's like ATM. Can we integrate this with higher-end equipment into this? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. So as of right now, we're able to detect quite a number of devices on a user's machine, and they can choose from those as they will. So if it's something that shows up in, say, your device manager in Windows, it's very likely that we could use that as a capture device. Obviously, there's a long way to go in terms of testing every single use case and device that comes out. We'll probably have to hire a few more people to help us do that. But I don't see any reason, and actually we've been pretty surprised by the number of things that have been recognized by InfiniScene without us having to do much work, including a few people have used mixers and other high-end microphones during the beta test. Additionally, all the capture cards that I think the majority of people use from Elgato, AverMedia, and Hopage work well.
How would I don't even know how the mixer would work. I guess you just take it in like an audio source in or line in. Last question comes down to consoles. What's the plan?
Oh man, I want to tell you so much right now.
Oh my gosh. Yes, exclusives. I see it. My eyes are lighting up. Right here on the AnyKey released.
All right. So it's not too much of a surprise.
Oh.
Capture cards obviously work with what we're doing. So you can capture a console with a PC and a capture card. But over the next 6 months, we will be in early conversations to have an app that actually works on console that you can then send to InfiniScene and use that as an input source with the rest of your stuff. Oh. So that means that you could grab a camera from a laptop while simultaneously pulling the stream off of a box and do those sorts of things. But
there you go.
All of that is very, very early. I don't want to make any promises. This could take up to a year. As you know, these things, they're big companies.
Well,
we are working hard to satisfy the requirements to make that a reality.
You get Microsoft and Sony to say yes before.
There you have it.
Any of you have experience working with large companies like that, it can take some time.
You've heard it here, folks.
That's it. Confirmed on the AnyKey.
AnyKey exclusive right here. InfiniScene on consoles. Look under your seats, everybody. InfiniScene's for everybody. You get an InfiniScene. You get an InfiniScene. Oh my goodness! But absolutely, that's fantastic. I think we've exhausted.
I like this guy saying "Ouya." It's gonna be an Ouya exclusive. You'll be able to stream Android games straight from your Ouya for the 5 minutes to load them.
Another AnyKey exclusive. Oh my god! Revealed here, confirmed. Ouya. Oh my god, does anyone even have that anymore? I guess Razer. If you bought a Razer, you got one. Awesome. So thank you so much, Stu, for coming on our show. Really great to have you and teaching us about InfiniScene. Absolutely great for you to come out.
Thank you. I'd just like to say that if anybody watching or you guys are going to be at TwitchCon, one of the things we'd like to do is have a little get-together, show off InfiniScene and get some feedback. It's going to be very small, maybe 20 to 40 people. But if anyone's interested, you can email Stu, S-T-U, at InfiniScene.com, and we will make that happen. Would love some feedback and some one-on-one interaction with some of our future users and figure out what we could do better. But anyway, just thought I'd share that.
Absolutely, Stu. So where can they find InfiniScene in the world? Tell us, give us a little bit of a plug for InfiniScene.
Yeah, if you go to InfiniScene.com, it's as simple as that. Put in your email address, and we'll send you an email and ask you to fill out your beta profile. That essentially asks what you stream on, where you stream from, and you'll probably get admitted to the beta. If you're a PC user in North America, I think you're almost immediately admitted right now. The rest we're hoping to invite over the coming months. We will be switching to an invite-only system in just about a week or so. So now's the time to get in while you can.
Hear that, folks? Get ESChamp exclusive again. Quickly, get in. Quickly, get in. Here on the AnyKey. What about Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram?
Twitter's at InfiniScene. Facebook.com/InfiniScene. Instagram.com/InfiniScene, though there's nothing really on there.
Branding. Good.
It's InfiniScene everywhere.
Perfect. All right. Once again, thank you very much, Stu. And
thank you. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for the good questions too.
No problem. All right, guys. So let's just get ready to wrap up the show. As always, this is the part where we do final thoughts, and we just end off the show going over our final thoughts on the topics. So, guys, last thoughts on unpaid internship. Josh, final thoughts?
I think it's necessary. Like, it's just the nature of the industry and where it is right now.
Tamir, final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree completely with what Josh said. That's just, it's the nature of the beast. It's not going away. It's not going anywhere. It's the case in every other industry. I don't see esports being any different, and I don't think that it necessarily needs to. I think that it has a lot of positive qualities to it that help the industry a lot more that people don't give it credit for.
All right, my final thoughts on unpaid internship. I wholeheartedly believe it's a great screening tool for people who are committed to a project. So I personally, in ESChamp, we do have I will say we have unpaid internship element. A lot of it is because we're a smaller organization, but B, it helps show like who's committed to the cause, right? So a bit of a seniority thing going on. Final thoughts. HOTS adds strict harassment policy. Bear?
They need to be there. Like, they want the game to grow. Like you were touching on before, they got to keep the users happy and wanting to come back. Like, there needs to be some government that goes on in the game. I just think the way they went about it, I don't necessarily agree with.
Final thoughts, Tamir? HOTS adds strict harassment policy.
I mean, I just think that there's better ways of doing it. Like, I don't see anything wrong with reporting or muting or any of those kinds of things. But like I said, just how much you police and how much you enforce seems excessive. And again, you have to keep in mind that it's a multiplayer experience, not a multiplayer like peachy fun time all the time.
My final thoughts on HOTS adds harassment policy is I have to agree with both my co-hosts. With the fact, or on both their points, that I think there's a level of government policing that is required to create that accessibility that Blizzard's striving for, but this is online. Like, griefing has happened since PvP back in WoW and other MMO games where people would grief you and you couldn't really do anything about it. So I don't think it's going away anytime soon. Final thoughts on underage gambling, Bear?
It's kind of hard to enforce. I think the blame is being put on the publisher and the developers, when I don't think it needs to. But gambling as a whole, I'm definitely pro-gambling in these ways. Like, 100%.
Pro-gambling. Final thoughts, Tamir, on underage gambling?
I mean, honestly, until somebody can offer up a good solution about, what's to be done about it, I don't see any necessary discussions other than, like, how could we possibly enforce it. I'm not opposed to, esports gambling or fantasy leagues or anything like that. I do think that there should be a minimum age requirement, like with any other gambling of any type. But with no real solutions in place, it seems like an irrelevant discussion at times.
For me, underage gambling, I think that Stu brought up a good point that companies, it's more about companies taking advantage of people making bad decisions. It's one of those things where Tamir brings up the great point. Difficult to police. There's no way that I've personally seen that you can enforce that. You can only do your best due diligence. Final thoughts on our last topic, gaming paradise. Josh.
It's just unfortunate to see stuff like this happen. You have a lot of outside, like, potential sponsors looking in, and they see stuff like this, and it's negative on the industry as a whole. So it's kind of unfortunate just to see stuff like this unfold.
Final thoughts, Tamir, on gaming paradise.
Oh, it's growing pains. I don't see anything wrong here. It happened, and it'll be gone in a week. It's
just forgotten.
Yes.
It will be, honestly. Like, you know what? It's like Josh said, these things happen, and it's unfortunate, but as long as we all learn from them, hide your teams, hide your players, hide hide your sponsors. Bad organizers are coming for you. So.
Okay, I don't think I can top that. My final thoughts is that Gaming Paradise might be, well, in a perfect world, Gaming Paradise would be a catalyst to something larger, like a player association or the idea that Tamir suggested, like a governing, not a governing body, but like a body that puts a stamp of approval on tournaments and organizations to ensure their integrity before teams or audiences or spectators, participate. So, but I think Tamir is correct that in a week, most of the community will have forgotten Gaming Paradise even existed, and most people won't talk about it only unless to refer to that event on the beach. So, well, that pretty much wraps up our show. Thank you. We went a little bit longer than normal, but we got some really great content. I'm really glad, guys, to be back onto the show. I have a great guest for you next week. For those of you who are into visual novels and anime and to esports, I have great news. We got all three next week.
I know we just got excited.
We got the creators of SC2 VN? Yes, so the StarCraft 2 visual novel. The StarCraft 2 visual novel, both of them will be on to talk about creating this visual novel from the Kickstarter, getting it from the concept to the idea, from getting the community on board to making this game happen. And I think we're going to play through it while we talk about it, because I am a noob at playing visual novels. We might even have Salil play through it as our our resident expert in and everything weeaboo. But either or, we'll have those guys there, and I'll be our next guest. And then afterwards, the week following, we have someone coming in to talk about how to build your brand as a player. So we got a couple of great guests lined up. It's going to be super exciting for everybody. So, guys, Bear, where can we find you on the interwebs?
Best place is at TheSgtBear on Twitter, and just interacting with me there.
All right, Tamir, where can we find you?
Twitter at StrygwyrD. That's your best bet, but don't expect much.
You can find me at Drekkonis on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, pretty much anything that else has magical interwebs attachments. But those are the three most active I'm on. You can find us here at ESChamp, at ESChamp. Tweet any sort of suggestions, feedbacks at that. Same thing on Facebook. You're obviously here on the Twitch, YouTube. And great news, the last thing, we will now be having the AnyKey on iTunes. Right? AnyKey should be available by the end of this week on iTunes for you to now watch. I mean, listen to your car, listen on the toilet, listen in the elevator or in the subway. You can have us in your ear talking about all sorts of random nonsense on your iPod Shuffle, or any other sort of iDevice, I guess. So, guys, thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to spay, neuter.